Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Every government, every leader, every head of the state and head of the government comes out like a new broom to sweep clean. But when you see a reversal of the basic ideals of a country, then that policy needs to be examined. And President Biden has come with a new policy. Now, this new policy is a total reversal not only of the Republican era policies but of the total American ideals. Whatever America has stood for in the last 200 years, this policy negates that. Mind boggles at this reversal, uncalled for, and in fact, in many times, it looks like as if not American friends and well-wishers who formulated the policy, but somebody else. The whole policy is slated towards anti-American ideals and hopes and aspirations of the people. You would be amazed if you read between the lines that the new policy of President Biden funds Chinese military, supports slavery, and America was based on the fact and fought a civil war to abolish slavery, and in the end achieves nothing, zero, still. Previously, if you look at it, before Mr. Biden became the president, the US policy was that Americans were forbidden to invest in the countries, those companies which are included in the blacklist of the Chinese companies and are directly involved in Chinese military, are involved in producing applications used by the communist regimes, whether Chinese or Russian or Cuban, but any communist regime which produce applications to oppress their own people and threaten their neighbors. The new answers amount to a wholesale abandonment of this policy because now the new policy says invest in those companies, permits that investment in those companies which are involved in producing applications for the Chinese military that would be used to fight India, Taiwan, Cambodia, and so on, name it, and also threaten the very viability and prosperity of America itself. This by itself should not have been approved. But politics is a game that is played with the people for purposes other than stated. Hypocrisy, double-faced talk, camouflage, all these combine to develop a cone of silence on the reality. And this policy, as I said, is an absolute abandonment of all political parties, because no political party till now in USA has supported funding those companies, and we are aware that majority of the Chinese companies are just front bodies of PLA, People's Liberation Army, which is controlled not by the Chinese government but by the CCP, Chinese Communist Party. Secondly, it is also seen as a part of a consistent effort to ease the economic sanctions imposed by the Trump administration. Fine. You want to increase trade? It's okay. But there should be some corresponding, some reciprocal benefit for the Americans, either in prestige or in economy. And this change, easing of the economic sanctions has been done, which will not add to the prestige of the country, nor would in any way promote trade, economic activity, or reduce unemployment. Again, it's puzzling. Why was the policy formed for China or for USA? Thirdly, and I'm just skimming, I'm not still going deep because of the time constraints. Trump administration had blacklisted 48 companies. And all those 48 were not indirectly but directly stooges, parts, front organizations of PLA, People's Liberation Army, as well as Chinese intelligence, Chinese government, Chinese Communist Party. And these companies, when President Trump blacklisted them, they raised a hue and cry, but when the facts came out, including Confucius Institutes, so-called academic institutes, but in fact nothing but intelligence operations. So these 48 countries involved in the initial Trump administration blacklist, and they are the companies which are used by Beijing to deny the human rights to Uyghur minority. So you and all those companies have been delisted. They can do business. All restrictions removed. Now imagine it. USA poses itself to be champion of human rights, religious freedom. And what is happening in Uyghur community is suppression, oppression, complete brainwashing, economic slavery, and whatnot. And absolute denial of any human rights. It's very vocal USA when it wants to criticize India. And here it is, sporting Chinese actions. Now, out of these listed subsidiaries, there are two companies, Hikvision and Sinoshan. They are not traded on US major exchanges. And they have been included in the index in funds carried out by giants like Vanguard and BlackRock. Normally, no company which is not traded on the stock exchange is funded. But in its own wisdom, US has decided to fund these two companies. And for no reason whatsoever. There might be some hidden reason that I can leave only to the imagination of the people or the policy makers. Then another major change which has happened. There is no penalty for investors who continue to hold these stocks after a grace period which ended in June 2022, this month. The grace period ended. And the Vanguard and the BlackRock stocks were supposed to be disposed of. But even after the grace period, there is no penalty for either Vanguard or BlackRock because, again, they are front organizations. But whom to question? When the guards become thieves, then it's a tragedy for the country. Now, the new order, the policy order, is very ambiguous and only states that they may not buy any more share, nor can they sell after the grace period what they have without approval by OFCA. Not buy, sell shares, that's all. They can make an investment, but they cannot buy shares. Now, buying shares is still better. At least you control the company. But here you are spending the money without any reciprocal benefit. Now, moves like this normally are offered only in negotiations with the Chinese over things important to the American national security. Okay, you want to do it, do it. But you have got to negotiate and get some returns. Here you are giving everything on a platter. At least you should have talked about American national security, about the security of Taiwan, and we heard recently China very clearly saying that they will not hesitate to go to war even to take over Taiwan. They have already taken over Cambodia. South Sea is in danger, the whole zone. And Americans have neither bothered for their own security nor for the peace and freedom of their friends, the people who depended on USA. And USA has proved to be a broken reed, undependable ally. Now, giving up on them is quite confusing to the international financial institutions. And that's the excuse given to promote this policy, that they don't want to confuse the international financial institutions. I cannot make any comment, but leave it to you, suggest it to you. Think about it. And when it comes, what time? Look at the timing now. It is coming at that time when Biden administration has announced an end to a tariff waiver on solar panels coming from Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. So Chinese solar panels are still under tariff. But so that the Chinese don't get annoyed, because they, instead of their panels come from Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam would be cheaper. And they might get annoyed that the dragon emitting fire terrifies President Biden. So he said, okay, we are giving you everything on a platter. Now this action of the government, this policy has been announced, and how the government explains it. The government explains it as a bridge. While domestic solar panel manufacturing ramps up, and it reopens a previously closed door to the Chinese dumping solar panels. Now what's going to happen? 90% of the companies in Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam are the subsidiaries of Chinese. So, not directly, but via those countries, there will be dumping of solar panels in US market, and you can be sure. After a few months, you would find that a large number of US manufacturing units will close in shops, because the cost of the panels manufactured in USA is going to be not marginally, but much higher than the solar panels which are being dumped. And there will be no hesitation by the Chinese to give them at the below production cost. On the other side, China is becoming more belligerent, more aggressive, and more of a problem than ever. And they have openly said that they will not hesitate to go for a war. So what is Biden administration getting for its retreat from the tougher trade policies that were operating earlier? Not a mere conciliatory stance on China, on Taiwan. It's committed to protection of Taiwan, but there has been no commitment in the policy that this would happen if Chinese give an ironclad guarantee that Taiwan's sovereignty will not be violated. And Chinese Defense Minister General V. Pandit last week warned USA very clearly China will definitely not hesitate to start a war over Taiwan subject. Is this good for American business? No. Is this good for American policies? No. Is this good for the American ideals? No. Is it good for the Pacific region for which the protection of which they have set up Quad? Answer again is a resounding no. So for whom is it good? Who benefits? Only the red dragon, fire emitting, terrifying, having global ambitions. Only they are benefiting. Is President Biden President of USA? And is it not his bounden duty to protect the interests of USA? Yes. Why he is not doing so? I leave it to you to judge. But this new policy is the harbinger of extremely saddening aspect. How the mighty have fallen. How people with no imagination and no vision can unwittingly become tools to betray their own country's interests. Not knowingly, I agree, he is not a traitor. He is a patriot definitely, but his imagination and vision are not there. And that's a tragedy. When the leaders are without vision, when the leaders cannot imagine and ensure what's good for the country, that's tragedy for any country. And that's happening to USA today. This policy should not have been there. And even though it's not too valid, the government can always retract its policies and amend them. And sooner they do, the better it would be. Thank you.